This is CBS 6 News.
I just couldn't imagine somebody killing the children. It's terrible.
What we're concerned with is bringing people to justice who brought harm upon, our family members in this town.
We are learning new details tonight of the horror that has struck this local community. Neighbors in Guilderland are searching for answers. At the same time, law enforcement searches for the person or persons responsible for killing 2 children and 2 adults. Good evening, I'm Greg Floyd, reporting live from Guilderland in front of 1846 Western Avenue, the site of that horrific quadruple homicide that police discovered yesterday afternoon. It is the rush hour here in Guilderland on this busy Route 20, and people driving by right now, no doubt, taking that quick glance at the house that they've heard so much about in the past 24 hours. If you're like me and you grew up in this town, if you live in this town, you drive up and down this street each and every day of your life, never imagining that something like this could happen in this quiet suburban town. Here's the new information we have tonight that came from police today. The 4 people dead inside this home, all murdered. 2 adults, a man and a woman, both in their late 30s, and 2 children. They are 7 and 10 years old. They were students at Guilderland Elementary School. They were in the 2nd and 5th grades. It's almost hard to fathom. Again, very few other answers coming out tonight. We are looking for answers, but so far not getting much. Our Jennifer Lukey has been covering this story since it broke yesterday. She was at the news conference today. I just talked about the search for answers, the fact there are many more answers than there are many more questions than there are answers. Yeah. We tried to get some today, but police, for a variety of reasons, are being very tight-lipped about this.
Yeah, they sure are, Greg. As I've said, we asked a ton of questions at this press conference today, and we got a lot of no comments, or we can't comment on that yet, or we're still investigating. What's slowing this investigation significantly is there's a language barrier. All of the victims are Chinese, and they spoke a specific dialect of Mandarin and Cantonese. 2 different dialects. Yes, so they had to bring in interpreters from all over the state. They flew them in overnight. So now they're starting to talk with family members, friends of these victims, trying to get a clearer picture of exactly what went on inside this house.
It's always shocking to the system when there are children involved. And so, on the one hand, it draws you emotionally in, but on the other hand, it also motivates, I think, every person who's in the room right now to make sure that we do everything we can to find out who did this.
Investigators say at the moment there are no suspects being questioned or in custody, but they do not believe that the public is in danger.
I'm not going to elaborate any further, but to reassure the community that, especially the neighbors, this is a very tight-knit community, so we do understand why people are concerned. These are not the kind of acts that occur in wonderful communities like Guilderland. So. But let's just say that based upon at least preliminary observations, this is not something that the public should be panicked about.
Still, those who live in the area are understandably nervous and devastated about the murders.
Every time I think of the children, I had to sit quiet for a while. I just couldn't imagine somebody killing the children. It's terrible.
Never saw the parents, Just the kids like the dogs, and they would cut through the yard and come over to the fence, with the kids, and I would let them in.
When asked whether these homicides may be linked to Chinese organized crime, this is what the district attorney said.
When you are at this phase of an investigation, you look at everything. That's due diligence. That's what the responsible investigator would do.
But at this point, connecting the dots is a slow process. Chinese interpreters were flown in overnight to help investigators communicate with distraught family members and friends of the murdered family. And now they're asking others within the Chinese community to come forward.
At this point, I'm not concerned with any of the collateral issues. We're not concerned with collateral issues. What we're concerned with is bringing people to justice who brought harm upon, our family members in this town. So whether it's immigration issues, my primary concern right now, our primary concern is making sure that we find, and bring people to justice.
And as we hear from David Soares there, he made the comment today that there is nothing for people to be afraid of. I've been in Guilderland all day today, been out and about, I've talked to people, I've heard from people, and a lot of people have questions about that statement because their thought is if there is a killer, a depraved killer on the loose out there, isn't there something to be afraid of? And obviously it's good advice to stay calm and not worry too much, but a lot of people in Guilderland trust me, and I've talked to a lot of people, parents of children, and they're worried, and they want to know why they shouldn't be worried. But again, we don't know why because police won't tell us.
Yeah, we asked several times very pointed questions about that. How can you tell everyone to be calm when you don't have the killer in custody? David Soares chose his words very wisely. He wouldn't say that this wasn't random, but that's basically kind of, I think, what he was getting at, was saying, you know, they're investigating, as I mentioned, those ties to possible Chinese organized crime. There was some talk of possibility of some gambling happening in the house. So they're exploring those possibilities as a reason why someone may have visited this particular residence. But again, I know it's not an easy feeling for people who live here in Guilderland. And the chief last night told me, you know, we want everyone to stay calm. This is a community where these kind of things don't happen. I mean, a quadruple homicide doesn't happen in most communities, right, but Guilderland especially, this is a traumatic situation, and a lot of people are just having a hard time dealing with it, but they're urging people to stay calm. So I'm guessing, reading between the lines here, that they at least have some idea that this was not random.
And as you continue to follow us, what's next?
Well, we know that 2 of the bodies were, there was going to be autopsies conducted on those bodies this afternoon. So we're expecting some sort of updated information either later tonight or first thing tomorrow, and we'll stay on it. As you can see, still a very active scene here. We've seen crime scene investigators in and out, so we'll maintain presence here.
Yeah, a crew just came out and changed up and then went back in. There's so much to do inside that house, and we'll keep you updated, and hopefully we'll get some autopsy results soon, so we may know a little bit more about what transpired inside that house. Jennifer Lukey, thank you so much for your efforts today. Our Kimberly Howard has been following the story from the school side of things. She is live outside of Guilderland Elementary School. Today they had counselors there helping students deal with this because, again, the 2 young victims were in 2nd and 5th grade at Guilderland Elementary. The counselors were there at the school today, but they're telling parents that they now have some things to do once the kids are home tonight. And Kimberly, I know you've got that side of the story.
Yeah, Greg, you know, the principal actually sent home this letter to parents telling them to talk to their children about what happened. But if you have a child in kindergarten, what you say to that child may be vastly different than what you may tell a 5th grader. So they're saying that maybe it's necessary for parents rather, to have several conversations with their kids. How do you begin to talk about a tragedy of this magnitude with children?
I don't think it's really sunk in for the kids yet.
Lisa Satalino is one of many parents with kids at Guilderland Elementary School dealing with just that.
So we were honest with her and we told her that there was a tragic incident that happened.
The support Satalino's 4th grader got at home continued at school, where more than 15 counselors, psychologists, and social workers were helping kids throughout the day.
She just said that there was a police officer at school that was patrolling the hallways.
There was also a sealed letter sent home with students that briefed parents about what was happening. The specifics about the 2 young victims thin, only identifying them as a 2nd and a 5th grader.
We can tell them that a terrible crime was committed someplace close to our school.
Guilderland superintendent says the staff met for 45 minutes to discuss how to approach each grade level.
Because we have children as young as 4 in that building and as old as 11. In some classrooms, there may be no discussion whatsoever. I pray that in our kindergarten classrooms we don't have to be talking about this today.
But child psychologists say don't ignore your kids' questions. Answer them and assure them that people are out there to keep them safe.
We just felt like we needed to help them understand that life goes on too, and that it's okay. It's okay to be sad, it's okay to be afraid, and that, you know, mom and dad are here to take care of you.
This tragedy obviously very difficult for adults as well. The superintendent tells me that there is help on hand for teachers and faculty here at Guilderland Elementary School as well as the other schools within the district. Greg, will send it back to you.
All right, Kimberly, thank you very much. I can also tell you that here in Guilderland it is homecoming weekend, the big football homecoming weekend. All the activities that were scheduled for tonight have been canceled. The homecoming game will go on as scheduled, though, tomorrow. So again, that's a wrap from here at 1846 Western Avenue. Crime scene investigators still inside the home as we speak, as they have been all day. And again, you know, the main new information from today is that it was 2 adults in their late 30s and 2 children, ages 7 and 10, in grades 2 and 5 at Guilderland Elementary, who perished in this horrible crime here along Western Avenue. Liz and Cody are standing by live in the studio with the rest of the day's news, so we'll send it back to them now for more.
All right. Thank you, Greg. And when police concluded their press conference today, we were left with very little more information than when we started, as you heard in their reports, other than a broad appeal for the public's help. Well, at 5 tonight, our legal analyst told me that there were good reasons for officials to hold back info. It could help the killer in a variety of ways. And he says information from you now could also resolve some issues that will reveal who the victims are and then who's responsible.
Were there family issues? Were there work issues? Were there matters relating to, as I said, immigration or other collateral concerns?
That folds right into it, is the children. It's very hard to figure out how children would ever come into play in a murder scene.
Sometimes children are the targets. I mean, married couples use children as pawns all the time. One way to really hurt someone is to not only go after them or a spouse, but their children. So profilers would say that's a lot of anger. You're targeting someone because of that anger, because they're potential witnesses.
And Paul Daraneshan also says as we learn more about the victims, who they are, who their friends and family are, and what their interests are, we'll learn much more about what led to their murder.
Again, police say they could use your help to solve this gruesome case. Investigators have set up a special tip line. They say they want to hear from anyone with ideas, tips, even thoughts about what might have happened. That number, 1-800-GIVE-TIP. There's also an email on your screen. We'll have the details also at cbs6albany.com. And of course, we'll continue working every angle of this story throughout the day. You can find the updates online. Be sure to keep tabs on us on Facebook and Twitter, too. There are tense moments today after 2 huge phone outages. Verizon Wireless customers trying to dial 911 couldn't get through, and some Time Warner Cable customers couldn't even get a dial tone. Service was out all morning throughout our viewing area, forcing folks to dial a 7-digit number or use a neighbor's phone to dial 911. A Verizon spokesman told me late this afternoon he believed a field animal gnawed through a fiber optic line somewhere between East Greenbush and North Greenbush. It's been patched up and is now working, we're told. Time Warner Cable's problems have also been restored. New at 6, Schenectady's Commissioner of General Services has reportedly given us 2 weeks' notice. Our partners at the Gazette reporting Commissioner Carl Olson told city officials this week that he was leaving. The mayor tells the paper it's unusual for department heads to leave without giving enough notice to create a type of transitioning plan. Olson oversaw nearly half of the city's functions, including snow plowing in the winter. The city reportedly will not begin the process of naming a replacement until the end of the month.
We have continuing coverage now out of Cohoes, where investigators are working to find this woman. She's Joyce Valagorsky. Police say she's a person of interest in the fire on Saratoga Street last night. A neighbor tells CBS 6 that the flames started on the porch of 109 Saratoga Street. This was around 9:30 last night. The fire then spread to 2 other neighboring homes. Everyone was able to get out safely, but one of the houses was completely destroyed. The other was damaged. Anyone with information on her whereabouts, Valagorsky's whereabouts, is asked to call the Cohoes Police Department.
Now, tonight we're continuing to cover this horrifying story of a murder of 4 people in Guilderland.
And when we come back, CBS 6's Greg Floyd rejoins us from the scene with what we know at this time.
Well, good evening. I'm Greg Floyd reporting live again from Guilderland in front of the quadruple homicide scene on Western Avenue in the heart of Guilderland. I know a lot of you folks get home late, you're commuting, you're just getting home, so we want to recap for you what we know today, the update on this horrific crime, and here's what we do know so far. Again, police today have released the names of the victims, not the names, I'm sorry, the ages of the victims. The victims were a 37-year-old man and a 39-year-old woman, also 2 young boys. They were ages 7 and 10. The school district confirming for us today that the kids were in the 2nd and 5th grades at Guilderland Elementary School just down the street from the scene here. Police do not have a suspect in custody but insist there is no threat to the community. That is what they are saying tonight. Police are asking for your help. They are desperate for your help, asking for anyone who may have information to give them a phone call. Here's the number you call, 1-800-GIVE-TIP. Again, 1-800-GIVE-TIP, that phone number and a web address, an email address also on our website, cbs6albany.com. So if you think you may have seen anything, if you have any knowledge that may help in any slim way, police do indeed want to hear from you. We're going to stay on the scene here all night. Craig Smith will be reporting for you tonight at 11. I'll be back at 6:30 in just a matter of minutes, actually, with Jen Lukey. She's been covering this since yesterday. She'll have an update as well. So until then, we're live in Guilderland. We'll send it back to the studio to Liz and Cody.
All right, Greg, thank you for that. We'll look forward to updates.
Well, more protests are expected in Missouri tonight after police say an off-duty officer shot and killed an 18-year-old. Investigators say the off-duty officer was on patrol for a private security company at the time. He told investigators 3 men ran from him and one, he said, started shooting. Authorities say the officer returned fire, killing the 18-year-old, but they maintain that the teen opened fire first. Vehicles were damaged. Officers were shoved as folks gathered in the streets hours after that shooting. Police did not arrest anyone during last night's protest. The police chief there, though, says that the teen was no stranger to law enforcement.
One day after the first Ebola death on American soil, the focus of the CDC is to keep the virus from spreading. And officials say over 300 troops are currently deployed in Liberia to help that fight. You see some of the work going on there, where the CDC director met with leaders from 3 West African countries today. And he said that the fight against Ebola will be a long one, and actually compared it to another global pandemic.
I will say that in the 30 years I've been working in public health, the only thing like this has been AIDS. And we have to work now so that this is not the world's next AIDS.
Over in Spain, a nursing assistant is battling the virus. She, the first person to contract Ebola outside of Africa. In the meantime, Europe and the United States have begun to beef up their responses to the outbreak. Major airports in this country will begin increasing screening measures now for travelers who come into this country from West Africa.
Well, Steve's up next with weather. He says it's going to be a little cooler and quieter as we go into the weekend, with one possible exception to the quiet part.
All right, we'll look forward to that. And as we head into the break, here's a quiet picture. This is a live look at downtown Albany tonight. Looking pretty good, and we'll be back after this.
CBS 6 News with Steve LaPointe, the Weather Authority.
All right, well, as the wind drops off this evening, so will temperatures under mostly clear skies. We're down to around 40 in town. There will be 30s in cooler spots. Pretty typical for this time of the year. 60, maybe 62 tomorrow. It's a mixture of sunshine and fair weather clouds. A nice day on the way for Friday. The wind will not be as strong, so that will certainly be a plus. Clouds have broken up nicely across most of the area, still lingering in the Adirondacks, where they likely will tonight into tomorrow. As the flow again coming across Lake Ontario, there was some snow reported on top of Whiteface Mountain today. Maybe a couple of sprinkles and light showers into Herkimer and northern Hamilton counties for a while this evening. Otherwise, we're dry. 61 now at Albany. It's 58 at Glens Falls, 65 at Poughkeepsie. So we're a little bit cool, but really for this time of the year, temperatures not too far off the mark. But again, chilling down overnight tonight with mainly clear conditions and that wind dropping off. By morning, it down to around 40 degrees. Cooler spots like Glens Falls, closer to 37, upper 30s around Gloversville and Oneonta. 30s from Bennington on south to North Adams, Pittsfield tonight. Hudson down to Kingston, expecting lows close to 40 degrees. Typical of this time of the year around Albany is 41. Tomorrow, again, not bad. Maybe a couple of degrees off from today. We hit 65 in the capital region, probably closer to 60 tomorrow. Low 60s in the mid-Hudson Valley, upper 50s to near 60 across the Berkshires up to southern Vermont, Cobleskill, Amsterdam. You'll do about 60 tomorrow. Low 50s for Indian Lake, with upper 50s around Queensbury and Glens Falls and Saratoga Springs, about 60 degrees. So here's our jet stream flow. We've got a west to northwesterly flow across the northern tier and the northeast. So that's generally bringing down dry air, protecting us from any weather systems to the south. And there is an area of low pressure here. The jet, though, will be lifting a little bit Friday night into Saturday. So this little area of low pressure is going to tend to zip up like this. That is our one potential fly in the ointment for the forecast on Saturday. This might just be close enough to spread a brief period of light showers into portions of Ulster, Dutchess, and Litchfield counties, maybe southern Berkshire County. This is the simulation for 7 o'clock Saturday morning. Fast moving and weak system. So it's not going to get any further north than that. In fact, the trend has been for this to actually track a little bit farther south. So it may just be clouds that most of us are dealing with 4 times Saturday morning, but it zips on out. So any clouds, I think, will dissipate pretty quickly as well. And any showers to the south of Albany will go out pretty quickly. So overall, the weekend is shaping up to be pretty nice. Temperatures both Saturday and Sunday in the neighborhood of 60 to 62. Again, a lot of sunshine by Saturday afternoon, and that should continue into Sunday. Next week, it's a warming trend with shower chances, so a little bit more active Monday, Wednesday, Thursday especially. Tuesday looks like the day, though, with temperatures perhaps topping off around 70 or even a little bit better than that again on Tuesday. Cody and Liz.
All right, thanks, Steve.
Well, a scorching flame made its way through downtown Glens Falls today. What's that all about? Stick around, that story's ahead.
Plus, the more things change, the more they stay the same for the UAlbany basketball team. Stay tuned. Doug's up next with sports.
CBS 6 Sports with Doug Sherman.
Welcome back, everybody. As Will Brown begins his 14th season as head basketball coach at UAlbany, official practice tipped off today. The Great Danes have some familiarity heading into the new year. Brown has named senior forward Sam Rowley and junior guard Peter Hooley as co-captains, just like a year ago when UAlbany won its second straight America East Championship. Now, the task is to meld 9 newcomers into the fold. The Danes play their season opener November 15th at Providence. Now, this is homecoming weekend at UAlbany, and it will certainly feel that way for Richmond football coach Danny Rocco and his opposite number, Greg Gattuso. The former Penn State teammates will go head-to-head for the first time on Saturday. Gattuso and Rocco played together as Nittany Lions for 2 seasons under Joe Paterno back in 1979 and 1980. In fact, Rocco hosted Gattuso on his recruiting visit to Happy Valley.
I was involved with Greg that whole weekend, and then you develop a relationship, and then, you know, a bunch of us are from Pittsburgh, and so my dad was on Joe's staff for 18 years, so Greg knows my dad real well.
I've known Danny 100 years. I played with his brother as well. I know his father, Frank, very well. They're great people. You know, there's no, for Danny and I mean, if it was a fight, maybe, you know, I'd kick his butt, but, you know, as far as football, it doesn't have any bearing. We both come from a very similar background, and he's a great guy. He's from a great family, but that doesn't change the fact that we want to win, and you know it doesn't have any bearing.
The Great Danes and the 20th ranked Spiders kick off Saturday at 3:30 at Bob Ford Field. First place in the AFC East is on the line tonight as the Texans host the Colts. NFL coverage begins right here on CBS 6 at 7:30. Kickoff is 8:25. For the unbeaten Shaker Blue Bison, ranked 6th in the state in Class AA, their lone blemish to date, a September 9th 2-2 tie with Niskayuna. Today, the rematch with Shaker up 1-0. But just like a month ago, the Silver Warriors rallied back with a pair of second-half goals. Kevin Chrissy tied the game at 1, and then it's Sam Finn who banged home the rebound, and this time it was enough for victory. In a stunner, Niskayuna hands Shaker its first loss of the year. And finally, the Adirondack Flames unveiled their brand new mascot today in Glens Falls. Its name is Scorch. Makes sense, right? Get it? Scorch for the Flames. Calgary's new AHL affiliate will play its first ever game tomorrow night in Rochester. Adirondack's first home game at the Civic Center will be Saturday night against the Albany Devils, and Scorch will be there.
I wonder if they make a lot of money coming up with those costumes and ideas.
They hope to merchandise and get kids excited. How much money they actually make off of it, hard to say.
He's quite the dancer, too.
Right.
Yes.
He's very hot.
Yeah, there you go. Much more to come in our next half hour.
Yes, we'll be right back.